If you've ever said, I know my attachment style, but why do I still react this way? This episode is for you. Because here's the truth, your attachment style isn't the problem. Staying stuck in your attachment style is. And today, we're not labeling or judging, we're evolving. Welcome back to the show. I'm Suzie, and this is your space for grounded empowerment, emotional intelligence, and real life relationship upgrades. Attachment styles are everywhere right now. Anxious, avoidant, disorganized, secure. You've heard them all, right? But why do we let them define us? I want to challenge you to stop wearing them as fixed identities and start using them as data to drive growth. Because as I always say, your attachment style is a starting point. It's not a destiny. You get to rewrite the ending. This episode is about having an attachment reset. Not who you attract, but who you become when you stop abandoning yourself, your wants, and your needs. We're talking micro behaviors, nervous system shifts, boundaries that actually feel safe, and how secure attachment is built, not magically appears. We'll cover attachment styles, healing attachment, relationship patterns, as well as secure attachment. But emotionally, we're going deeper. By the end of this episode, you'll understand your attachment patterns through an empowered lens, more self-aware, more grounded, and more transparent about how to create emotional safety. You'll know what secure effort feels like and how to show up without abandoning yourself. Stay with us. Welcome to Signals and Standards with Suzie, where we decode mixed messages, elevate your standards, and deliver practical insights that you can act on. I'm your empowerment coach, Suzie, here to guide you from confusion to clarity, helping you reclaim your power and create the relationships and life you deserve. Imagine your attachment patterns like the software running your emotional operating system. Something quietly active in the background, shaping almost every relational tap, swipe, and click before you even notice it. Just like a phone or computer system directs responses to touches on the screen without your conscious thought, your attachment coding influences how you react to connections, how you react to conflicts, closeness with others, before your rational brain ever gets involved. Many of us have heard about attachment styles, right? Anxious, avoidant, secure, like they're permanent boxes that define us. But emerging research shows that these styles aren't fixed identity labels. They're patterns that show up in moment-to-moment interactions, and they can evolve as you do. When we talk about everyday moments, we're referring to how attachment patterns show up in the small relational dynamics most people overlook. Research using daily interaction diaries have found that people with different attachment styles behave differently in real time. Avoidantly attached adults report lower levels of intimacy and positive social engagement, as you would think, and those with high anxious attachment style show greater variability in their emotional experiences in daily life. So this highlights that insecure attachment doesn't just matter in dramatic breakups or fights. It shapes everyday emotional exchanges, from how you interpret a partner's tone to how you regulate your own affect. Another recent longitudinal study found that anxious attachment is linked with more negative momentary emotional states and less stable emotional regulation over time, especially when under stress. Think of your attachment system as your internal climate control. It constantly adjusts to perceived safety or threat. Warmth feels calming and pleasing. Too much cold or even unpredictability or insecurity feels threatening. If your early relational environment gave you inconsistent warmth, your internal system learned to amplify minor changes as if there were major disconnections. Over time, That calibration becomes your default, and you respond first from that place of learning long before your thoughtful mind steps in. That's because attachment doesn't just live in thoughts, it lives in the body. Your nervous system memorizes patterns of safety and threat before language develops. And those somatic memories, they get replayed in relationships long after the original context has passed. This helps explain why you can logically know that a partner isn't abandoning you and still feel your nervous system rise when they're quiet or distant. The reaction isn't just emotional, it's physiological, shaped by survival wiring that once kept you safe but now hijacks your present moment. This embodied experience of attachment means that healing can't happen only through insight. It has to involve regulated experience. Experiences that teach your nervous system what safety actually feels like rather than just what it means. A nervous system is just like a garden, right? Repeated experiences of safety are that nourishment that lets the roots grow, slowly replacing old survival patterns. This is also why change can feel threatening at first. Even when you sincerely want a secure connection and new relationship habits, doing things like saying no instead of yes, even sitting with discomfort instead of chasing reassurance, can trigger alarm bells in your system. Growth feels unfamiliar, and the nervous system interprets it as uncertainty and danger. You might want something different, but your body resists it as if it's unsafe. This is part of what researchers describe when discussing the development of secure attachment. Consistent self-regulated experiences can gradually form new neural and relational pathways. Just as repetitive motion strengthens muscles at the gym, small, consistent relational practices build new emotional resilience inside your system. Within that, boundaries are among the most misunderstood tools. When love once felt conditional, doing things like setting a boundary can feel like rejection, like you're risking connection instead of protecting your peace. But boundaries are not walls. They are structural beams of relational safety. Research on adult attachment suggests that insecure attachment often develops in environments where boundaries were inconsistent or absent. And so clear, dependable limits feel foreign at first. These boundaries communicate something profound in your nervous system, like, I am worth protecting. These boundaries, they really matter. My needs matter. Connection doesn't require erasing myself. Healthy boundaries don't push people away. They foster safer connections by stabilizing the relationship environment. And the beauty of attachment evolution is that it doesn't require radical reinvention. You don't need some dramatic epiphany. You need tiny, intentional micro choices. Noticing the urge to react before reacting. Choosing a grounding breath instead of spiraling, and naming your need with calm honesty instead of assuming the worst. These are the incremental shifts that research describes as the building blocks of healthier, more secure relational functioning. Every time you choose regulation over reactivity, you're effectively rewriting the code your nervous system learned years ago. I know it's hard. I too had to do a lot of rewiring after experiencing multiple traumatic events since my childhood. But it's important work to do. It can help to think of secure attachment as learning a new dance. The early steps feel awkward, attention feels clumsy, and timing feels off. But with practice, your body finds its rhythm. Movements become fluid, they become more instinctive. The same applies to relational safety. Repeated experience of steadiness, clarity, regulation, and genuine connection help your nervous system relearn what safety feels like in your body, not just your head. Research consistently shows that insecure attachment shapes not only emotional experience, but also mental well being, social connectedness, and how we relate to others. And of course, it influences our everyday emotional regulation. Individuals with higher levels of anxious or avoidant attachments, they're more likely to experience negative emotional states and relationship difficulties. In contrast, a secure attachment is linked to better emotional regulation and psychological well being. What this tells us is simple but powerful. Attachment isn't destiny, it's adaptive wiring that can be shifted through consistent, patterned experience, through the choices you make today about how you respond to yourself, how you communicate with others, and how you interpret safety in the moment. So let's slow this conversation down for a moment and turn it into something more personal, less theory, more truth. Not advice, but a kind of coaching moment that can land quietly and it stays with you. Everything I've discussed comes from grounded, lived in wisdom and knowledge. I've done so much in the dating and relationship space, coaching conversation, thoughtful messages that arrive in my inbox, a lot of reading and learning. And I've seen a lot of emotional patterns repeat across stages of relationship histories. Different faces, different stories, but really familiar dynamics. If something in this episode really stirred a question for you or touched something in your own heart, you don't have to hold it alone. You can always reach out at powercoachsuzie.com. I read every message, I sit with them. Many of these episodes are directly born from what you trust me with. So I'd love to hear from you. One of the most common questions I receive sounds simple, but it carries so much underneath it. Here it is. I understand what I'm looking for and I know my triggers, but why do I keep falling into the same situations and relationship patterns? I appreciate this question because it tells me that you're paying attention. It tells me you're trying to be fair and can feel when something isn't right, even if you can't quite explain what it is yet. And it tells me you're not looking to be demanding, you're looking to be honest. That already says something important of the kind of partner you're trying to be. Where people start to suffer is when standards get confused with fantasy. Wanting someone to suddenly become a different version of themselves than the one they've consistently shown you they are. This isn't a standard. That's hope colliding with evidence. So what we have here is you know what your triggers are, but you keep falling into the same situations because you don't believe what you're seeing. And if you remove their words and you looked at their behavior, would that make you feel more secure or confused? Not hopeful, not attached, not imagining potential. Secure or confused. Your nervous system, it's an incredible truth teller. And I talk about this stuff a lot. Your nervous system knows long before your mind catches up. So why do you keep falling into these same situations? It's because you're not listening. You're not listening to yourself. When someone is aligned and emotionally available, it feels calm and steady. Not perfect, but it feels grounded. Like things like they check in without being chased, they make plans and follow through. They show genuine curiosity about your life and your inner world, your experiences. You feel it, you know it. Communication has a rhythm. You're not spending hours anxiously analyzing their tone, their timing, whatever, overthinking about what they meant by what they said or what they didn't say. It's consistency you're looking for, and that creates the safety you're craving. Confusion obviously looks very different. It's hot and cold behavior and maybe even long gaps followed by sudden bursts of attention. You know, all these things are all signals and signs, and this confusion keeps you in this never-ending loop. And you keep falling into this trap because you're not listening to yourself. Expectations have to be healthy because right now, I'm sure you would admit that yours are not. They're unhealthy because they may be disconnected from reality. Your standards become powerful when they're based on patterns and boundaries. You look at your patterns, you look at their patterns. You set your boundaries. Do they respect your boundaries? Do they fit in within those boundaries? These are all things that are really important. So look at things like how often they initiate plans or check in without you prompting them. You know, if you call, do they return that favor? Do they ask you out or do you always ask them out? Those sorts of things. This is important because you don't want to mistake the sometimes attention with people's true intentions. So your relationship doesn't need to feel like fireworks. It needs to feel like a warm, steady light, safe and peaceful. You know, you have to feel like you can breathe, like you don't have to think about it. I mean, relationships aren't easy. Relationships aren't always going to be unicorns and rainbows, but relationships do have to feel comfortable and feel secure. And anything other than that is a red flag. So I said before, peace is a form of passion too. When you feel that peace, there is passion in that peace. You don't need the fireworks and drama in order just to have passion. Remember that. So remember one more thing I want to really focus on. You have to be self-aware, obviously. You're recognizing that there's a problem, but you need to always look at what new behaviors that you are taking on in order to change that discomfort you're feeling. A shift only happens when awareness is paired with action. So you want to pause and think before reacting and look at the situation more broadly. Be curious. Don't just assume things. Be curious. Respond and don't chase anybody. And of course, setting your boundaries and sticking to it. I think that's extremely, extremely important. I've lived this too. Early in my dating life, I mistook emotional intensity for connection. The sparks, the highs, the drama. I thought it was love. Calm felt unfamiliar. It didn't feel hot. It didn't feel passionate. Steadiness felt boring. It didn't feel great. Consistency? Well, I didn't trust that yet. It took time to realize that chasing emotional roller coasters kept me spinning in loops, exhausted, second-guessing myself, questioning my worth. The moment I consciously chose consistency over the fireworks of chemistry, everything shifted. I noticed the small, steady signals, someone showing up, they're following through on what they promised, they're being present without being chased. I gave myself the same treatment, choosing habits, routines, and boundaries that prioritized my peace and my nervous system's safety over the thrill of chaos. And here's the truth I want you to hear. You stop repeating old cycles the moment you decide you're worth choosing differently. Peace can feel like passion. Consistency can feel like love. Really, that changes everything. Remember, your patterns don't define you. Your attachment history isn't your destiny. It's information. Your willingness to evolve beyond them is where transformational lives. That's the fundamental attachment reset. Here's something powerful to carry with you this week. Simple, but really transformative and intensely regulating for your nervous system. So take a deep breath and repeat after me. I choose secure love. I choose secure love. I choose secure love. Say it slowly, feel it. Let it settle into your chest. Let it ripple down through your whole body. Because repetition doesn't just remind your mind, it rewires your nervous system. Each time you say it, you're telling your body, I am safe, I am worthy, I am capable of steady, real connections. This affirmation is a small but mighty act of self-leadership. Every time you choose it, you reinforce the reality that love, consistent, respectful, steady, is not something to chase or hope for. It's something you can invite and sustain for yourself. Again, healing your attachment isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. It's small, consistent choices, pausing before reacting, soothing your nervous system, holding boundaries, and showing up for yourself. Remember, self-awareness is the most potent love language you can offer yourself. Your attachment style is information, not a life sentence. Your patterns are chapters, not the whole story. The fundamental transformation comes when you stop abandoning yourself in pursuit of love and start choosing yourself instead. It's not about who you attract, it's who you become. Someone steady, safe, and totally grounded in your worth. So this week, carry this with you. Choose growth, choose safety, choose you. Every small choice rewires your patterns and rewrites your story. And that's true attachment evolution. Thank you for showing up and choosing to step into your power with me today. I can't wait to connect again next week for another conversation designed to help you grow, set boundaries, and build the life you actually deserve. You can catch this episode along with quick Power Shop bonuses anytime on Signals and Standards with Suzie, available on all your favorite listening platforms. And if something in today's conversation sparked a question, brought up a reflection, or you're ready to dive deeper into creating a real connection, some emotional clarity, and maybe some consistent love in your life, head over to powercoachsuzie.com. I read every message, and I'm here to support you every step of the way on your journey to choosing yourself first. See you next time. For daily inspiration and practical advice, find me on social media at PowerCoachSuzie. Got questions or ideas for the show? Head to powercoachsuzie.com where you can connect with me, explore the blog, or learn more about what I do. This is Suzie signing off. Until next time, keep reading the signals and never, ever lower your standards.